for the student allowance.
I call the honourable member David Clendon.
Tēnā koe, Mr Chair.
Tēnā
Thank you. Sir, I'd like to talk a little about the tertiary sector, which we know is a sector to say that the sector is under stress is almost an understatement. Right throughout, for staff, for students, for general staff, for academics, for technical staff, everybody is feeling the stress of an under-resourced, underappreciated, under-supported sector, despite the fact that we are, as the previous speaker noted, we are constantly told of the significant importance of the tertiary sector in producing the New Zealand we want, in terms of economic development, in terms of building a stronger, better society. Unfortunately, the rhetoric is not matched by the support, by the budget, as we see from the documents we got earlier this year. The increased funding committed to for the 2012-2013 year committed to the tertiary sector looks like a 3.5% increase on the previous year. We know, of course, that with the growing demand for tertiary education at universities, at polytechs, at PTEs and elsewhere, we know there's a greater demand. We know that costs have gone up. Actually, that 3.5% nominal increase looks very much like a cut to the sector. I think that lack of support, the lack of resourcing of the sector reflects the fact that this government, this minister, seems to think that tertiary institutions are more in the nature of machines for processing people. You plug people in one end and you drop lumps of information on them, and they swallow those lumps of information and come out the other end with a degree, with a credential. Actually, teaching and learning are not like that. You do not start with a clean slate. Institutions of learning are communities. They are learning communities, ought to be. I know this because I worked in that sector for 12, 13 years, where you get a genuine community of academics, of support staff, of funders, of teachers, and of course of students. That's when tertiary education actually works. They are not simply machines for processing, for delivering a commodity called education, because education is not a commodity. It is a lifelong process of give and take, teaching and learning, and ought to be seen in that context. One of the obvious symptoms, of course, of the lack of support for the tertiary sector is the announcement this afternoon that Canterbury University is going to be obliged to lose some 150 staff over the next 3 years. And that is a great tragedy in many ways. I had a meeting with some senior academics from Canterbury just a couple of weeks ago, and they flagged what they knew was likely to be a fairly uncomfortable future for them. They gave me a copy of this document entitled, "What if an earthquake made us all smarter?" Being good Cantabrians, they have not sat around waiting for somebody to come to them with a solution. They have been thinking and working incredibly hard to look for a positive future, to rebuild that university, to make it not only as good as it was, which was very good, but actually to make it better, more sustainable, more resilient. They make the point in this document that has been around for a few weeks or a month or two at least. Without significant investment, the earthquakes foreshadow concerning future for University of Canterbury over the next 10 years. And the announcement today indicates that concerning future is a reality. I have some sympathy for the Vice-Chancellor, for Ron Carr. I'm sure he didn't enjoy making that announcement today that 150 academics or other staff can expect to lose their jobs over the following 3 years. Canterbury University is in an incredible position to exploit a tragedy, quite frankly. They understand this. They talk about having a centre of research, a global centre of research and teaching in earthquake studies and disaster resilience and recovery. Canterbury's always had a very strong reputation. The Centre for Advanced Engineering, along with Scion and other agencies, have been doing a great deal of very good work around building and timber. We know that there is a laboratory, a living laboratory called Canterbury, where we could discover how it is that communities rebuild, how they come back into being.
Order. There's a telephone ringing in the chamber. This is not a toll booth or a telephone box. This is a debating chamber. The member has it. Please turn it off. Thank you. Sorry to not remember.
Thank you, Mr Chair. There is a wonderful opportunity to attract academics internationally, to provide opportunities for our own academics, our own students, to engage in action research, which is research intended to understand, to discover things as they happen, and to feed back projects, processes that make this place better.
I call the Honourable Minister Stephen Joyce.
Mr Chair, could I thank the previous speaker for his lecture as to what a university does.